Hello and welcome back to a special episode of Small Actions, Big Ripples. My name is Sian Brennan Todd and I will be your host for this special episode. Joining me is my dear friend, Gwynneth Slavin. She is from the Shropshire Chamber of Commerce. I can't wait to share Gwyneth's insights and her story. So I'm going to get stuck in. Can I ask you to tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and also what is your role at the Shropshire Chamber of Commerce?
Sure, Sean, that's no problem. I have worked at Shropshire Chamber of Commerce for 4.5 years now. My main part of my role is to get out and spread the word about the Chamber. You talk to businesses and let them know about what the Chamber is doing, find out about what their issues are and see if we can help support them in any way.
Now, I moved from Australia to Shropshire 2 years ago, and I remember when I first got here meeting you, and you were lovely and warm and kind, and you gave me so many links of people to contact, and I always remember feeling very grateful for that. So thank you to you, because those small actions have made a big difference in my career and meeting people here. So what was it that inspired you to get involved with the Chamber in the first place?
Well, prior to Chamber, I'd worked for 23 years in regional press, local newspapers, the Express and Star over in Wolverhampton in the Black Country, and the Shropshire Star here in Shropshire. And then came COVID, and times were definitely hard for local newspapers. The opportunity to take a redundancy came up, and I felt ready for a new challenge. I felt, before I, hung up my boots and, retired to my knitting and woman's realm, that I had one more adventure in me. And the Chamber came calling.
Well,
and it really sang to me what they were doing and, how I could help play a part in all of that.
your role at the Chamber is very much about supporting businesses in the Shropshire area. And why do you think that support is so valuable? Because you have a huge membership, lots of businesses that really do rely on the Chamber. Why do you think that support that you offer is so valuable to those businesses?
Well, we try and support businesses through good times and bad. When we've got a challenging economy going on, and if we have, it's then very, very important for businesses to feel they've got a voice and feel they've got support and feel they've got, people in their corner, offering advice and guidance. And I think that's where the Chamber comes into its own.
And you do lots of networking events. And I know that when I've spoke to business for, they appreciate being able to be in a room together to discuss maybe good, maybe not such good times, but being together, having that support between each other, I know makes a big difference. Do you see that?
Absolutely hugely, and we encourage that sharing of knowledge, experience, good practice is vital to all businesses, even if they're not in the same sector.
Yeah.
Business experience is very much the same across different sectors. It absolutely is. And talking about our network clubs, attendance on our regular monthly network clubs is up by 25% this year, which is pretty much down to our membership manager, Otis Powell, who really drives those and brings people together. So, they are doing exceptionally well, together with a huge range of sector-specific ones we run as well.
No, it's great. And I know, having been part of many, many networking groups, the support you have. And often, as you said, it's chatting to people maybe totally outside your sector that you get the most benefit from, because you can apply it into your own business. And what do you think one of your accomplishments is at the Chamber? Is there anything you feel especially proud of?
Well, over the past couple of years, we've been doing some work on behalf of the government for a project called LSIPs, Local Skills Improvement Plans, and it was work to identify skills gaps in certain sectors and see how damaging they could be in the future as skilled and experienced people retire. Have we got that that skills network there, ready to step into the shoes. And for a lot of businesses, that was definitely going to be a struggle. So we spoke to over 600 businesses.
Wow.
Across the Marches area, talked to them about their experiences, prepared a big report to government, and the upshot was we were awarded some money,
Amazing.
a significant sum of money to just deliver funded training and upskilling across the Marches region. So that, I think, has been a huge success, and I think that's been incredibly important to the region.
And I think having that boost as well, when you have outside of the county a boost coming from someone else, they recognise the great work that is happening, because I think within Shropshire a lot of people see that, but recognition outside of that realm must have been pretty exciting.
It really was, yes.
And what does success mean to you? You talked about sort of having, success within the business. What does success mean to you in the context of your work, what you're delivering?
Well, success is very similar, to me, to what you've said to me there, how the connections that you made a huge difference to you. I love hearing about that. I love seeing that in action. I love introducing people who I think can make things happen between them.
You're like a Cilla Black for the business world.
We'll have a Laura laughs. But yeah, I love that. I love the buzz of, I know you were both at our most recent expo in Shrewsbury. I love walking into the room and seeing, stands being visited and people having conversations. That makes me, have a really warm and fuzzy feeling.
Yeah.
I think success takes very different shapes and forms.
And I know, as somebody who was new to the area, having those events is absolutely vital, because I wouldn't have known about many businesses had I not attended those events. So for someone like myself, it made a big difference. So thank you.
It's great to hear.
Yes. But can you share a story with our listeners who maybe don't know as much about the Chamber? And maybe is there a story or something that you can tell us that's been a local business that's had a positive impact on the Shropshire community? Is there one you could pinpoint now?
So many businesses. CSR is very important within Shropshire Chamber, and so many businesses work really, really, really hard to make a difference in their own communities. One huge example of that is ACO, who are one of our chamber patrons, and they spend a lot of time, and their teams spend a lot of time out and about doing work at schools, doing work for various charities. But they're not the only ones by any stretch of the imagination. So many businesses do get involved in supporting the great local causes that we have. You've only got to look at the Dragon Boat race on the Severn every year, and how many businesses get involved to raise funds for the fabulous Severn Hospice.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I know we've talked about challenging times for businesses at the moment. What challenges have you faced on your journey, whether it's in your career before joining the Chamber or now? And how have you overcome them? Can you give us a few little advice or motivational tips?
Oh, gosh. Well, usually when I'm have something that I'm really struggling with, whatever that might be, I find the way to approach it is with a calm head. Try and take a step back. Don't get too fraught. Try and think your way through it. Take a little break. Make notes. That generally brings ideas and thoughts and ways you can approach things.
I like that pausing, isn't it? Often we're so busy.
Step back.
Yes.
Rather than sort of diving onwards, take a step back and think, right, a good cup of tea.
Oh, yes, definitely. Nice cup of tea and maybe a biscuit as well is always good.
Yes.
But I think that's so true, isn't it? It's having that mentality to be able to stop and pause, because we are all so busy, especially businesses, if you're running your own business and your family and everything, it can be a lot to juggle. But I think you're right. Sometimes when we have those challenges, it's pausing and just taking stock of everything else, and and having gratitude that you're maybe in a position that you can do that, and you can have a break and look at things from an outside perspective is often easier, isn't it?
Definitely.
And talking about small things, what maybe is a small act of kindness that has helped you in your journey?
Oh gosh, so many. I'm a huge believer in that. There's way more kindness out there than unkindness. People are generally lovely. Personally, well, there's quite a few. A couple of years ago, I wasn't very well, and I ended up being rushed into hospital. And from my perspective, the kindness of the ambulance drivers who looked after me so well, and then when I was taken into hospital, it was pretty scary. I won't go into details, but I didn't quite know what was going on, and it wasn't very good. And I was frightened.
Yeah.
I was frightened. And I said this to the wonderful young male nurse who was buzzing around, wiring me up to various things. And I said, I'm scared.
Oh.
And he just stopped what he was doing, came and gave me the biggest hug and said, you're here, we're going to look after you, you're going to be okay.
Wow.
And I knew then that I would be okay.
That is such
and it was
a
lovely. That
story.
made a huge difference. But people are kind. People support. Even within the chamber team, I've lost 2.5 stones this year, and the chamber team were absolutely amazing.
Oh.
Nobody sort of waved biscuits or cake at me. And if there were, absolutely there were biscuits, cakes, sweets in the office. Nobody said, oh, just have one, it won't do you any harm.
And it is those small acts, isn't it? Like you're saying, the nurse stopping and just giving you that hug. To him it was maybe nothing, but to you it totally changed your
huge amount.
And I think we can say that in business it's exactly the same.
Yes.
People doing kind gestures really does make a difference. They don't have to always be elaborate, huge, things that people might offer. Sometimes it is those small acts of kindness that do make those big differences. So what motivates you to support local businesses and to foster that community connection in Shropshire? What is your motivation?
I'm very passionate about supporting business in Shropshire. I love to see them doing well. Love to see businesses growing, getting involved in things. I just love to see things happen. Yeah. I love to hear good news stories, and that really motivates me to do more and to be more myself.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? That success breeds success, and success can be whatever you want it to be, but hearing good news stories promotes you want to get more good news stories. And I do think it's that definite cycle, isn't it, that if you can do good, you see good, which makes you want to do more good, and then you see more good. So I totally understand that. And what are your aspirations for the future of your work in the chamber?
Oh gosh, more of the same. Support more local businesses for our wonderful members, make sure that they get the best experience possible, from their own particular memberships, or make sure we're giving them everything that we need to give them and that they need to have, whether that's sort of training, networking, connections, international trade support, HR support, health and safety support, all of the things that chamber offer. Make sure that everybody is getting the most from that.
And you obviously are doing so much for these businesses, but what advice would you give to someone who's maybe thinking about how they can make a positive impact, what they can do in their local business? They maybe are not a business owner, but they want to support local businesses. What would your piece of advice, knowing the business sector so well in Shropshire, if they want to make a positive impact in their local business community, how can they help?
I would say come and talk to Chamber. Come and talk to us. We will have a conversation with you about what you're wanting to achieve and see how we can best support you in that.
And at the Chamber, how would it work? So can you tell the listeners a little bit more about that? So if somebody rings up the Chamber and they want to know a little bit about it, how does that structure work in terms of going from being somebody on the phone to getting information to actually attending the events and being part of that community?
What I like to do is to meet them.
Yeah.
It's lovely talking to people on the telephone, but what I'd much rather do, and you know this, Sean,
Yeah.
I want to meet them for a coffee
Cup of
and
tea,
get to know a
yes.
little bit more about
Yeah.
them and what they need and what they are particularly looking for. And then we see where the conversation goes from them. The huge amount of benefits to joining in with Chamber, you know, and you know, businesses aren't always aware of everything that we offer. So sometimes I think that takes them by surprise a little bit.
And I think since COVID, everybody is craving, you know, that face-to-face catching up. Maybe not all the time. You know, I know lots of people are enjoying working from home, but I think people catching up, getting together, having those times to speak face-to-face is a different kind of networking than doing it on Zoom.
There was a huge desire for that coming out of COVID. I mean, we even introduced things like netwalking.
Yeah.
Which is fabulous.
Get your steps in as well.
Yeah, when people could only meet up outside,
Yeah.
you know, from different households, you know, let's go for a walk.
Yeah.
It was great for part of our mental health commitment that we have.
I love that. So tell me, what is a surprising fact about you that might surprise our listeners?
Let me see. Well, first of all, one that's quite funny is my grandson calls me Nanny Frog because I've got a huge amount of ornamental frogs in the garden. But also one quite interesting one is Barack Obama follows me on X, well, formerly Twitter.
Oh.
Actual Barack Obama, I'm sure it's nothing particularly entrancing that I've posted that he's thought, oh, I'm going to follow her. I'm sure there's an algorithm for people following him in play where perhaps every 500 person that follows him gets a follow back. I don't know. There'll be something going on.
I love that. And do you find that the rise of social media has been helpful within your role?
Absolutely. LinkedIn is immensely important because it's an instant way to connect with somebody and support them. And a lot of businesses do reach out to me via LinkedIn.
That's great. That's great. So tell me, if you had a completely free day here in our wonderful county of Shropshire, how would you spend it?
Oh, so many fantastic places.
That's
If
true.
I was heading up to Oswestry, I would definitely be going to the British Iron Works, which is an amazing place to visit. If I was in Telford, it would be a walk around the town park, which is fabulous. And you really see the seasons change. Ludlow, oh, I'd be
Gorgeous.
going around the lovely little independent shops. Same in Whitchurch and Newport. Shrewsbury is probably where I would head for a day to myself because there are a lot of treaty things that you can do. First of all, I'd probably park at Abbey Foregate, walk into town over the bridge, stop for a coffee somewhere on Wild Carp.
Very nice.
I like Sabrina. I like a little trip on the
Sabrina
boat. On the river, which is a really nice thing to do. Bit of shopping, some great shops, and there's some fabulous places to eat. The Beefy Boys is incredible. Wild Blue World on Wild Carp in their lovely little garden area is fantastic. So yeah, I think that's. So long as there's a bookshop involved.
Oh, nice.
So I'm in 2 book clubs, a huge passionate reader.
Wow.
And if there's a nice independent bookshop around, for example, in Bridgnorth and Oswestry, you've got Booker. In Wellington, you've got the Bookends. Fantastic little shops. So I love things like that.
And you've just touched on the fact there are lots of independent shops in or around, you know, I know you're talking about Shrewsbury then, but all over. And when people come and visit me here, that is something everybody comments on. I love your high street. It's so different. Yes, of course, there are still, you know, the big chains, which we need and we support as well. But having those one-off local shops is very rare and just charming, I think, as a lovely thing in this area, in this community.
Absolutely. Shrewsbury's got a lot of personality.
Yeah.
And the listed buildings, that are all over the town centre, make it very, very special.
When we first moved here, my kids would often say, is that building going to be okay? As they're sort of tilting at a
over.
45-degree angle. But they are charming, aren't they? They really are.
They really are. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your insights into what you are doing within the local community to support and help businesses through the Shropshire Chamber of Commerce. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sian.
And that wraps up this special episode of Small Actions, Big Ripples. I've been Sian Brennan Todd, your guest host for today. A huge thank you to Gwynneth for sharing her insights and showing us how thoughtful actions within the business community can spark positive change far beyond the workplace. I hope you found these stories as uplifting as I did. Thank you for tuning in. And remember, it's the small positive actions we take every day that create the biggest ripples. Until next time, take care and enjoy making a difference.